I wanted to come on and share because, yeah, this is just worth sharing. um, and I don't have glasses on because my eyes are dilated. I just went to the eye doctor, and glasses are just really overwhelming right now. Like if you've had your eyes dilated, you kind of know like things are a little all over the place. Um, but yeah, that's actually the point of the story is me going to the eye doctor because I wanted to share what happened, but there's also a broader story, broader perspective, per usual, because it's me, um, to share about kind of life things, all of it. So I went to the eye doctor because I've been having eye problems. Obviously, that's why you go to an eye doctor. And I thought something of it, but then I didn't really think something of it. Um, because I've been used to having eye problems. For those of you who don't know, like my backstory, I the backstory is actually very important. So I'm going to share a little bit about my backstory. But this is about the power of mindset. This is about the power of mindset. It's about the power of what happens when we believe our version of truth versus the version of truth that is told to us, the like accepting the reality that we are given, and what is possible when you kind of shift. Amanda, hi. What's possible when you shift your environment, when you shift your beliefs, when you shift kind of all the things that are possible for us. Um, so yeah, so I wanted to kind of, that's what this is about. So my backstory, and this is important because of the like why I went to the eye doctor. So in 2012, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. I started experiencing general body weakness, all sorts of kind of things going on in my body in as early as 2008. That's about as far as I've tracked it. And it kind of just got progressively worse. Like I can essentially track what happened when, and if I remember correctly, the eyes are actually what started to go first. So the diagnosis I received, it's called myasthenia gravis, and they basically say it's a terminal diagnosis, not like terminal as in you're going to die, but like terminal as in um, you're just going to have it for the rest of your life. You are going to have this body condition for the rest of your life, and if you're on medication, you will be on medication for the rest of your life. That's basically what they say. So when you receive a diagnosis, that's that's the story. That's important. That's an important part of the story. So I experienced all sorts of weakness. I had problems speaking. I had problems eating. Lots of problems walking, moving, just like activities of daily living were just cumbersome. So for a while, I was determined to figure it out. I'm the figure it out person. Um, I like a good puzzle. I like a good challenge. So therefore, I was going to figure this out until I realized I couldn't figure it out, and I finally went to a doctor. And then I ended up going to the doctor. Boom, boom, boom. Diagnosis. Get on medication, and I was told this is what you have. This is what's going to happen, and you will take these pills for the rest of your life. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever had a moment where someone tells you something and you're like, mm, okay, but not really okay, that was one of those moments. I was just like, that doesn't really feel true for me, but okay, like I need to do this now because I need some relief. So I was willing to go with it because I knew that's what I needed at that time. So we got the medication figured out, and things were fine. Eventually, things were fine. Well, fine. So we're doing the medication. We're, living life. Physically, I'm doing better because I have the medication. Like that really, 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 really helped. And I was content because I could do things that I wasn't able to do prior to the medication. Christy, hey, I can't see like the no glasses. My eyes are dilated. Just bear with me. Um, so yeah, so we went with the medication. One of the side effects of not really side well yeah side effect side of a side effect of the wrong dosage of medication, so whether it was too much or too little, was eye issues. It was double vision, it was eye issues. So one of the things that I've dealt with since 2012 2013 is eye issues, aka double vision. And fatigued eyes, if I'm tired, things like that, if I'm looking at the computer screen for a long time, um, you know I've had issues. And then on top of that is, if you wear eyewear, if you have contacts, if you wear glasses, then that also has to be in accordance with wherever you are. And I've worn glasses since middle school, since the seventh grade. So that was like, that's always been in the picture for the most part. So we're doing the medicine thing. Everything's good. We're living life. There's some environmental factors that were not as supportive. Diet was not as supportive. Like things that cause us to feel not as healthy as we could be. So one thing leads to another. I get introduced to energy healing. And when I'm introduced to energy healing, I'm introduced to different ways to think, different ways to live. I'm introduced to the possibility that this diagnosis does not have to be my reality. This was the first time someone told me. Actually, they didn't tell me, but it was me meeting someone who had healed themselves from something naturally. So they had a condition, they were on medication prescribed by, a medical professional, and they were able to heal themselves from whatever it was, no longer on medication, and they were fine. And I was like, okay, so something like this is possible. Good to know. Log that for future reference. So I start doing Reiki, I start doing energy healing, and I'm introduced to new concepts. I'm introduced to healing of all sorts. I'm introduced to new ways of thinking. I'm introduced to new beliefs and mindset and just ways to conduct yourself in the world. And it feels good. I'm unraveling all the layers, all the layers. They're just going, going, going. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is good. This is good. And then I work with different energy practitioners. I work with different coaches. And the first coach that I worked with, she asked me a question of why am I holding on to this diagnosis? No, she said this was from one of my spirit guides, someone on my team, and I could not hear that question. I couldn't hear the question of why are you holding on to this, because up until that point I wasn't holding on to anything. I was the victim in this circumstance, and therefore I was having this done to me. I didn't have any control over it. So I immediately dismissed it because I couldn't hear the question. So a few months later, when someone completely different asked me the same question, I was like, okay, maybe there is something to this holding on to a situation, a diagnosis, a way of being. So me being me, we have we have a conversation, and I went gung ho. That day, I was like, screw it. I'm not taking pills anymore. And that was spring of 2018. So I had been on medication for 6-ish years, almost 6 years. And I said, all right, no more medication. That's cool. I am not holding on to this. And if me voluntarily taking medicine is me holding on, then I don't need it because I don't want this. I don't want this as part of my experience. So, not recommended because I was miserable, absolutely miserable. But that was the spark that I needed to see that something else is possible. Not only see it in someone else, but like have a physical, like, oh, I can take control here. Oh, there, like something else actually is possible for me and the way that my life is going, health wise. So I ended up doing some things on my own. I ended up bringing in a naturopath 6 to 9 months later, still doing heavy energy healing. The energy healing actually kicked up like significantly 2019, beginning of 2019, and working with the naturopath, working on diet, working on mindset, working on energy, working on literally all the layers. I started to actually be able to function without as much medication, without as many pills. And I was like, huh, okay, so we're doing something. So this goes on for 2 years. I'm like going, trying literally all the things. And 2 years into the like weaning off process, I start asking different questions and I start realizing that my body wanted something different. It actually didn't want the pills anymore. And I was like, ooh, am I ready for this? Like my body was ready, my energy was ready, my mind had to catch up with it because I was afraid to ask the question, body, are you ready for this? Body, is this what you want? I knew the answer because I could feel it, but I was not ready to actually like formulate that question. So eventually I did. No more pills. Been off pills for 3.5 years. So since then, I've learned to ask big, bold, audacious questions and explore big, bold, audacious possibilities. And I don't share a lot of like the things that I'm working on because they're big, they're bold, they're audacious. You might think I'm crazy. But I went to the eye doctor today. That's how this started. All that backstory was necessary because it's like the precursor for understanding why this is so important. So I went to the eye doctor today because I've been having issues with my eyes. And like I said, the medication, I used to have issues with my eyes, but it was because of the medication. So it's been a couple years since I went to the doctor just because I have a thing with doctors. And like I said, I'm going to figure it out. So I've been trying to figure some things out. And in the last 2.5 years, I've been working on my eyes. I've been working on muscles. I've been working on nervous system. I've been working on eyes. I've been working on like, you name it. I've asked the question and I've worked on it and I've asked my body to do it. Since the last exam, I've cut my prescription almost in half. And that's why my eyes have been having such issues because I've cut the prescription in half. Like they don't need as strong of a prescription. And I kind of had to laugh when the doctor told me that because on one hand, it was like, oh, so what I've been doing is working. And then on the other hand, it's, of course it's working. Why wouldn't you believe it's working? Right? Because the body doesn't lie. If you're switching something, if you're healing something, if you're integrating layers, if you're releasing layers, if you're doing all the things that we're supposed to do, that we're, you know, doing as healers, as doing as multi-dimensional beings, then why wouldn't that be possible? Why wouldn't that be something that can be a reality? So I had two different dialogues going, and um, I have to say, like, I'm not in shock, because it makes sense, because I've been asking, like I said, those big, bold, audacious questions, and I've been doing the work. But I think I needed to see a number as proof. Like, the human in me needed to see a number to be like, oh yeah, it shifted from here to here. Or, you know, like, you just need that validation. So that's why I want to talk about the power of mindset. Because when your mindset is set on change, when your mindset is set on all things are possible, then if you're like me, there's going to be a relentless pursuit to achieve all things are possible. Like I said, when the doctor, you know, 12 years ago said you're going to be on pills for the rest of your life, I was like, yeah, all right. I'm the type of person who says, yeah, all right, when you tell me I can't do something, or when you tell me that things just are a certain way. My brain says, yeah, all right, I'm going to figure out how to make it happen. Yeah, all right, I'm going to figure out a better way. And I've always been like that, but I'm even more like that now from an energetic sense, because if we're working with energy, everything is possible. Everything and nothing is possible. So, with mindset, when we believe that anything is possible, that we can create, we can heal, we can expand, we can whatever, then we can. It simply is as simple as that, as believing that it is possible. And then one of the things that I've been working on, like hardcore working on, is the trusting and the surrender. So trusting and surrendering to the process through which it actually unfolds. And like I said, me, you know, the human in me, the scientific part of me wants to know, okay, if it changed, if the prescription changed, then what did it go from and what did it go to? Like, I want to know the delta, because I want to know how much farther I can push. So I'm like, great, these are all the things I've been doing. What else can I continue to do? What else can I add to make it improve even further? So I'm like, how much further can I push? And not from a like push, 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 but from a what else is possible. I knew I could improve. I knew that this was within the realm of possibility. What else is possible? So that's the mindset piece. It's the giving ourselves permission to ask these big, bold, audacious questions of, what can I actually do? What is possible for me, my life, my health, my relationship, my job, my business, my whatever? What else is possible? Because if we know where we are isn't working, then we know something else is possible. And there's a version of us that has whatever we're trying to achieve. So it wouldn't have come into our sphere without that actually being a reality somewhere on some plane. Mindset also has to do with our version of truth. So like I said, the doctor was like, yeah, you're gonna, this is your reality for the rest of your life. The little voice inside my head was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna play this game as long as I need to. And I did. But finding your own version of truth and being okay with it, particularly when it's not everyone else's version of truth. Because, using medication, using a diagnosis as an example here. When, someone says, this is the way it's going to be, suck it up and deal with it. And you're like, okay, this, I'll just figure out how to live life this way. The expanded version of us is like dying on the inside. It's like, no, that's not it. This is a mere part of your experience. It doesn't have to be the end all be all. Like, it doesn't have to be it. So knowing that we have things that feel good and then things that do not feel good, and giving ourselves permission to listen to our reaction, listen to the voice inside of our head, listen to whatever terminology you want to use of what feels good and true for you versus what, a medical professional might say, versus what, even a family member might say, versus what whoever, you love and respect and maybe even put on a pedestal, whatever they say. If something feels true for you, honor it. It is okay to honor it, even if you seem completely delusional to everyone around you. I used to have this thought, this, in essence, a dream of walking into the bathroom, looking in the mirror and saying, am I normal again? Because the first thing that I would do in the morning was get out of bed and run to the kitchen to get a pill, because that's what I needed to function. So first thing in the morning, I'd go get the pill, and then I'd like do a check-in. Am I normal again? Am I okay? And there's some language, there's some mindset, there's some things in that to unwind about, is there actually something wrong with taking a pill? Depends on who you ask. But for me, knowing there was a version of truth out there somewhere that I was working toward. I didn't know how. I did not know how, but I knew there was just something different that felt better that I somehow could achieve, maybe possibly. And for me, at that time, it was not worrying about taking pills every day to function. For you, it could be something completely different, but like that's what it was for me, because it was all in encompassing. And within that, kind of your version of truth, that like these are kind of, I'm not doing these in order. I just randomly wrote down some stuff and like hopped on. So it's the giving yourself permission to explore what is possible, and then from your version of truth. So those are kind of they feed off of one another, like chicken or egg. And then when you're exploring your possibility, being willing to follow the process. So is it changing your diet? Is it changing your environment? Is it changing the relationships? Is it scaling back in your job? Is it starting a business, stopping a business? It like, what feels good to go towards whatever that truth is. And being unapologetic about your pursuit of that truth. I know I've been unapologetic about it. I've been asking these crazy questions about what is possible for the human body. And, on one hand, it's like, holy crap, this is happening. And then on the other hand, of course it's happening. You had the audacity to ask. And if you're an Abraham Hicks fan, ask and it is given. So there you have it. Yeah, so I wanted to share that because I wasn't expecting such a big shift in like my eye prescription. I knew it had shifted. I was hoping that the work that I had been doing was working. And come to find out, it's working. It has worked. It continues to work. And I continue to ask big, bold, audacious questions and talk to my body and ask my body what it wants. How do we want to play today? What else is possible? Um, and maybe one day I'll share some of those other questions because I still can't believe I have the audacity to even ask them of myself yet. But yeah, this is just a reminder that anything is possible if you desire it to be possible. You can create your own reality. You don't have to live by the status quo. You don't have to accept someone else's version of truth, but you do have to be willing to change. You do have to change. And sometimes it's not very easy. Sometimes people don't like it. Um, I was actually listening to some Abraham this morning, and something that hadn't clicked for me before was, so they always talk about the path of least resistance, and for some reason today the path of least resistance clicked that it isn't the fastest path. I always used to equate path of least resistance as fast, but path of least resistance is like a growth thing. It's not a time thing. It's the pieces falling into place thing. It's the readiness to then accelerate. So we as humans get frustrated with that time piece. And I know I do all the time, which I constantly work on. But yeah, it's the willingness to ask the questions. It's the willingness to change. It's the willingness to find your truth and honor your truth. And it's the willingness to continue to ask questions. And then be the example for those around you. So, yeah, that just felt like that needed to be shared from me today because it's like a culmination of things coming together. But yeah, I'm gonna go rest my eyes now because they're still tired and the dilation is, I think, weaning off pretty soon here, but my eyes are still tired. Um, yeah, so I hope you have a good rest of the day. I just wanted to share that. And mindset, mindset, mindset. That is my message.